Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now the beginning of March of 2023, and as we get very much closer to the second episode, or also known as Chapter 18 of The Mandalorian Season 3, a lot of Star Wars fans are also looking forward to what Jon and Dave are about to announce at Star Wars Celebration this year. That's going to have a lot to do with Ahsoka, and a lot of new installments on the horizon that's also going to be unveiled at D23 later this year as well. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing that a lot of fans have really been invested in has a lot to do with how George Lucas is being incorporated into the current Star Wars material, all the upcoming shows, and working hand in hand with Jon and Dave. And really making it, a possibility for Star Wars to really return to the way it was before Disney took over Lucasfilm. That's basically where George, Jon, and Dave want to bring things and how they want to stabilize the entire fandom and just reunite all the fans around the globe. So that brings us to the next big thing between Jon, George, and Dave Filoni, and exactly what George Lucas recently did in an attempt to really kind of restore the franchise and to really do something very special for especially the hardcore fans that are very big fans of George Lucas. So we already know that Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, who is working hand in hand with the Disney higher-ups, has been working very closely with them and trying to really stabilize the franchise and really turn things around. Now, with that being all said and put out there, one thing that is for certain has a lot to do with Bob Iger really allowing George Lucas to do something very special, and on top of that, with Disney CEO Bob Iger actively developing new and upcoming projects for the Star Wars franchise. Right now, Iger is in the middle of a shakeup between himself, Disney higher-ups, and even Kathleen Kennedy after what she did with both the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew series. However, as of late, George Lucas has been working hard with both Favreau and Filoni on something very special for the fans. It's described that George Lucas is writing a big Star Wars project with both Favreau and Filoni that is set to be a direct sequel to Revenge of the Sith that goes under the name of Star Wars Underworld. The focus of this series is actually set to resurrect Lucas's original series that got cancelled back in 2007, that is now being rearranged to focus on post-Order 66 events in live-action form that will heavily take place on the world of Coruscant in the depths of the city, diving into lore surrounding bounty hunters, Jedi in hiding, as well as crime lords, and that they are aiming to make the tone of the series a mixture of Blade Runner and Star Wars. Now, like many other projects, this one in particular is set to feature specific major cameos that will add to the story for fans to see in the upcoming series that they are planning to officially announce by this fall. Now, let me just stop here for one moment. The thing about Underworld is that it's basically going to be, like I said before, a mixture of Blade Runner and Star Wars. That's the overall structure that George Lucas is aiming for when it comes to everything related to the franchise, right? They want to actually borrow tones from other franchises and mix it in with the Star Wars universe. And you know what? I kind of like this idea. There is leaked test footage, by the way, online back in 2007, if you guys want to go ahead and check it out. It gives you an idea of what Underworld was going to look like, and basically what George is doing, and what Bob Iger greenlit, is really reviving this show in particular with the help of Jon and Dave in the mix. So basically, it's gonna be more or less of a direct sequel of Revenge of the Sith, showcasing the events right after Palpatine, takes rule of the galaxy and the Empire takes over the galaxy as well. Now, sure, we got snippets of that in The Bad Batch, and The Bad Batch is considered a post-Order 66 series. However, what Underworld is about to establish is that it's going to do it right after the events in live-action form and also in the depths of Coruscant for most of it, and showing fans, different sides of the story, showing fans, Jedi in hiding, bounty hunters, crime lords, all these different aspects of Star Wars that have yet to have been touched in its full capacity in live-action form. So far, we only got snippets of that, here and there. So with that being said, alright, with that being put out there, on top of this, alright, what makes this even all the more exciting is that Bob Iger is planning to announce the series during one of his upcoming earnings calls around November of this year, and how George will be one of the big co-writers of the show. The series will feature new revelations surrounding Order 66 and the night the Jedi fell. Lucas is already looking for a way to insert the return of Darth Maul and his rise to power in this upcoming series as well, to tell new events of his crime syndicate Crimson Dawn. There is no word, however, on Kira returning for this series just yet as of right now. Lucas is also aiming to turn this into a very dark and gritty show for the fandom. Now, let me just pause here quick for a second as well. Now, we know that George Lucas is all about, really kind of shifting the focus of the franchise back to the basics. And basically, that's what he's doing with himself, John, and Dave on The Mandalorian, on the Ahsoka Tano series, on other upcoming shows. It's all about that philosophy, the mythology of Star Wars, right? And when I say back to the basics, that doesn't necessarily mean, to really kind of keep it down to a bare minimum when it comes to the plots. It's just that they want to keep that philosophy very simple and very much intact. And that's what Kathleen Kennedy has been busy trying to shift away from in The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, and why I believe those two shows really aren't going to work all that well, in my opinion. If you guys want my honest opinion, I really don't see The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew performing all that well, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, on top of this too, we know that they are going to be using a lot of John Williams music that went unused for not just the prequels, but also for the sequels that's going to be established in multiple upcoming Star Wars shows, and this is going to be one of them. So you're going to have prequel trilogy-esque music being thrown into Underworld. This way it's kind of going to have that same exact feel and tone of the prequels. Now, it's described to be darker than Revenge of the Sith, and it's going to have a lot of moments where you're going to learn more about the Jedi, bounty hunters, and crime lords. The thing that really strikes me the most, that's very exciting, is how they are finding ways to throw in Darth Maul and his rise to power through Crimson Dawn. This is something that fans have always been looking forward to, and I think what happened is that originally, we talked about this 2 years ago, there was an initial plan to get Darth Maul to have his own series about Crimson Dawn. That fell apart and got canceled. That never came out to be. So I think that what they are doing is they're taking aspects of that and throwing it into Underworld is exactly what it seems, that is actually what's happening here. So given that George Lucas is getting more involved with all of the upcoming projects, I could not be more excited. I'm very much intrigued to see, what's going to actually happen moving forward and how George is going to establish all of this in the current canon. So, yeah, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you guys have to say about all of this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again.